Alright, hello everybody, welcome back to another Cosmo video. First thing I want to say, thank you guys so much for 50 subscribers. This channel's been growing like crazy, and I am super fucking surprised because this channel started out as me just sort of trying to document my experience going through mice, trying to find what I aim best with. And in honor of that, for the first subscriber goal special on this channel, the 50 subscriber special, I'm going to do a current mouse collection tour. So as of the recording of this video, it is June 26th of 2021. This collection will undeniably change, but as of now, this is what I have. There are lots of mice. This is going to be a long video. What I'm planning on doing is just bringing every mouse in, talking about why I originally got it and what the goal was, and what I thought that it would do for me in terms of aiming. So I'm going to start this off right now because it's going to take forever. First off, this mouse, the Zowie Z812, I'm not going to talk about this mouse in this video because I just put out like 3 different videos on it. If you're interested in those, go click on my channel. But I guess I'll talk about why I got this mouse. I got this mouse because it is a more comfortable S-series, and when at the time that I got it, the S-series was something I thought I would aim really well with. And I thought that this sort of low shape with a nice claw hump would be comfortable, and sure enough it is, and I am quite well with it. So I'm going to put that off to the side now. Okay. This will not be in chronological order or anything. I kind of just have them all piled up on my desk. But I'm going to try to do them in groupings. So I'll start off here with the Logitech G703. This is a mouse that I got very early into my collecting. I believe this might have been like the 3rd real gaming mouse I got. I got this mouse at the time because I had just used the G903, which I'm like, oh, okay, there are already mice falling off my desk. At the time, I was using the G903, and I wanted something that was a little bit lighter and a little bit more of an ergo shape. At the time, I was not super focused on weight, though, which is why I was using this, and I was really into wireless, so that is why I got this. And then I'm going to kind of just try to put the mice randomly in places and then wrangle them all after. This mouse is the Logitech G903. This was the 2nd real gaming mouse I got. I got this mouse actually because when I was buying my first laptop in like 9th grade, I think. Oh no, it must have been 10th grade because I was working, and that's how I got money for it. But there was like some deal where with the laptop I could get this mouse for like $50, and I was like, okay, sure, I'll upgrade. So this mouse I did not get for any particular reason other than it was well reviewed by tech YouTubers, like Linus Tech Tips, and I got a good deal on it, and it was a wireless mouse. And this mouse served me really well. I used this mouse for quite some time. I guess I'll go to this mouse, the G502. This mouse was the first real gaming mouse that I ever got. I got this mouse for the same reason that I got the other 2, which is it was well reviewed by big tech YouTubers. I like to kind of make fun of them because they don't know shit about mice, and they kind of just review things based on comfort and features. And this mouse is comfortable, and it does have good features. But it's a fucking brick. It's a shape that's hard to aim with. It has a dog shit cable, dog shit mouse feet. It's a really, really great mouse for browsing, and I don't necessarily regret buying it because at the time it was the only mouse I had, and it's a really, really great all-around mouse. But there's a reason that nobody talks about this mouse, and it's because it's bad for competitive FPS and other competitive games. Next, I will go to the Logitech G305. This mouse I got early on in my collecting, and I got this mouse because I was really interested in trying the egg shape. And at the time, this was before the G Pro wireless came out, and this was sort of like the go-to lightweight wireless option. If I open it up, you can see I did the tinfoil AAA mod, and that brought it down to around 85 grams. And I wanted to try a lightweight wireless option because at the time, I forget what mouse I was using. I might have been using the G903 or the G703. But point is, I was still really tied to wireless mice because I hadn't yet found out about paracording. And this seemed like a good option, seeing as it is lightweight and wireless, and it's a decent shape. It's still a mouse I recommend to this day. I think that's actually one of the mice that was most ahead of its time, because it's still a relatively lightweight wireless option, and it's still a good shape, and I still think it's a mouse that people should purchase. But yeah, I didn't actually end up using this mouse much because a few months after I got it, the G Pro Wireless came out, and that just ended up being my main for quite some time. Plus, the egg shape at the time, at the time, the grip that I used didn't work well with the egg shape, and it just ended up being a mouse that was kind of uncomfortable for me. I'm gonna try to do some of the similar shapes in order, because right here I have all of my EC series mice that I have purchased over the years. Is this another? Yeah, okay. So I have bought nearly every rendition of an EC mouse. So the first one I ever got was this mouse, the EC2B, but I really didn't like the small mouse skates, and that was like enough of a deal. And also, I forget, at some point I had some really weird PCB issue go on that I eventually fixed. I forget what the issue. Oh, the like side buttons deactivated, and it took forever for me to fix it, but I inevitably did. Because of it taking forever to get fixed, I ended up getting this, the EC2A. I forget why I got the EC2A instead of a second EC2B, but I got this EC2A, and I used this mouse for a little bit. At some point, I got an EC1B Divina, and I think that I just got this because I wanted, I do have pretty big hands, and I got this mouse because I wanted to see if a truly large mouse would be comfortable, and it ended up being that, sure, it's comfortable, but I can't aim super well with this mouse. And then the EC2B, or just the EC2 as it is, I think now, that you guys have seen in some of my videos lately. But I've used EC series mice off and on over the course of the last, 4 years, because I've been collecting mice for probably around about 4 years now. And I've been using EC mice off and on throughout those 4 years. It's a really good shape, but it's not a shape that actually lets me aim at my peak, but it's a very comfortable shape, and it's a shape that I've always been able to track really well with. My flicks aren't as great with the EC series, but I've always been able to track really well with it. So it's a mouse that I've always gone back to. It's always a safe mouse. It's one of those mice that I can't aim at my peak with it, but I'm never aiming badly when I use the EC series. If I'm aiming badly with a mouse one day, I might just swap to the EC series because I know that I can aim decently with that mouse. Alright, next I'm going to talk about the Sensei clones that I've purchased, which are the Dream Machines 1 Pro FPS and the Nixius Rebel. So at one point, SteelSeries had not updated their Sensei shape in 4 years at one point. And EC clone, and not EC, Sensei clones were a huge thing, because it was either you buy the SteelSeries Sensei Raw, I think it was, that was the most updated model at the time, that had a fucking garbage cable and a sensor that would spin out, or you get a clone from Dream Machines or Nixius Rebel, and these were the two best clones at the time. I got the Nixius Rebel first because I think it was no, they were around the same price, but the Nixius Rebel you could actually get shipped easily because it's a store that has places in the US, whereas the Dream Machines mouse you had to get imported from Denmark, I think. And the clicks on the Nixius Rebel were just absolute fucking dog shit, and it kind of hurt to use, and the clicks were fucking terrible, and the coding was really weird. So I ended up getting, because I was really interested in the Sensei shape, I ended up getting this mouse, the Dream Machines 1 FPS, and it has much nicer clicks, and I mean, I think that this is still a mouse that I recommend, because it's still relatively lightweight, it still has good clicks, it still has, I believe it's a 3360 sensor, or it's some good sensor, and even though this mouse is 3 years old now, if you're interested in a Sensei shape, this is probably still the best option. Although I don't know if the latest, I know that SteelSeries refreshed the Sensei within the last 2 years, and I don't know if that actually made it usable, but this is definitely still a mouse I recommend. Alright, next I'm going to talk about the G403, because this is a mouse that I should have talked about when I talked about the G703, but I didn't. So the Logitech G403 is a mouse that I used here it is. It's a mouse that I used extensively when I got it, because this is a mouse that is used by probably 50% of pro flex support players, and I play flex support in Overwatch. So I definitely wanted to try this mouse and see if it would work for me. OBS okay. OBS froze for a second, but I think we're back. this is a mouse that's used by the majority of pro players that play the characters I play. So I want to try it out and see if it was a mouse that would work for me. It does. I can aim very well with it. I think if all I did full time was play flex support in Overwatch, and I didn't play Valorant, and I didn't play CS sometimes, and I didn't sometimes flex around to hit scan DPS, I'd use this mouse a lot more. Because this mouse is really, really good for like stable micro flicks. It's good for short tracking. But Overwatch is not a stable game of micro flicks. Depending on the characters you play, it can be that, but it's a very fast-paced game, and therefore this mouse became something that I just couldn't use for everything. It's still a mouse that I use very often, and I think this is a fucking incredible mouse, and I think it's one of the most overlooked mice out there, because it's like $40, like 60 if you paracord it, and it's a great shape. I think it's like 85 grams if you do some very lightweight mod, and it's a really big, comfortable ergo shape. So I think it's a really underrated mouse. It's a super comfortable mouse. It's a mouse I can aim really well with, but it falls into the same category as the EC, where I could never aim at my peak with it. But sometimes when I'm either having mouse issues, or if like this is a mouse that I always keep within arm's reach, because sometimes I just want to use it. And that is, of course, a mouse that I heavily recommend. I don't know where I want to go next. Here, let's talk about this mouse. This mouse is, it's some Corsair mouse. Corsair M55. I bought this mouse, maybe a year and a half ago, because it was getting really positive reviews, and I have always fucking despised Corsair mice. It was getting really positive reviews, so I wanted to pick it up to see if it was indeed a good mouse. It's super, super cheap. It's a really nice budget-friendly mouse. It's a relatively decent shape. Like, I think this is a shape that really forces me into a traditional claw, because my normal grip, which is this, is extremely uncomfortable, but a traditional claw is pretty comfortable. It's a decent shape, in all honesty. Like, I could aim pretty well with it. It's definitely S-inspired. It feels a little bit like an S1. So, Corsair M55, it's a mouse that I don't not recommend. I mean, I don't recommend it. There are better options for $20. I'd recommend a Viper Mini over this mouse any day. But if you're like looking for a super, super budget S-inspired mouse, this is a pretty good option. And I just got it. Honestly, I got it because I was ordering something else off Amazon, and I wanted to get the overnight shipping. And to do that, you need to get over $35, and my other thing was like $10. So this mouse was like $20, and it got me over that. But it's a decent shape. It's not like a bad mouse. It's just not good, and I think there's better options. But if you are very, very picky about mouse size and you're looking for an extremely budget mouse, this is decent. I still don't recommend it, though. And that's also never a mouse that I actually put any hours into. Okay, next I'm going to go over... I think I'm just going to talk about my other Zowie mice. So this is a Z812. This mouse I got several years ago. This was one of the first mice I got as well, because I got my FK2, I got my EC2. This was before the S series came out, and I was like, oh, what's this ZA series? And I got it, and I used it for a little bit. In hindsight, my experience with this mouse should have dissuaded me from trying the ZA13, because my experience with this mouse was not that I felt it was too big to aim well with, but I felt like it was weirdly immobile in my hands. I could still aim pretty decently with it, and I think it's a great shape. I think I can aim well with it. I mean, I'll talk about the ZA13 next, but like the ZA series, I think is a great shape, and I think a lot of people can aim well with. The issue is that I felt like I don't know. It's nearly uncomfortable because it's like jabbing into like right there on my hand, and that's not super comfortable. I don't know. I don't quite know what it is about the ZA series and me, because a lot of it sounds like stuff I should like. I mean, I made a whole video talking about, it was the first video I ever made about mice on this channel. I made a whole video talking about why I thought this mouse could be my end game, because a lot of it makes sense. I mean, like it's a thin mouse, it's a long mouse, so it has that comfort, but still the like agility. But I don't know, it's just never been something I could reach my peak aim with. But it's still a shape that I recommend to people that are interested, because it's super unique, and I think it is a good shape. Alright. Like I said, next I will be talking about the Z813. This mouse I used as my main for a few months. And it is a great mouse. A lot of the things that I can say about the Z813 are true for the Z8, are the same as the Z812. It's a great mouse. The only issue is that I just could never reach my peak aim with it. It's still a mouse that I highly recommend. And the Z813 I actually even recommend more because it is just that little bit smaller, and that's nice. But it's still not small in the ways that would make it uncomfortable. Alrighty. Continuing. This is just my black Z813. I'm not going to say anything about this just because, again, the Z813 I have made several videos about on this channel. This is just the black version. I got the glossy version because I didn't like the matte version, but I got the matte version for the same reason I wanted the Z813 in general. This right here is my first S2 that I got. As you can see, it's a little bit weird. I did use the fuck out of this mouse. I sanded it down to make it matte. However, up until about a week ago, it has been fully disassembled. I just recently put it back together. But I took it apart to use the scroll wheel in another mouse, which is why the scroll wheel is different. And the reason that it was taken apart is because I had a paracord in it, but then I stopped using this mouse. So I took the paracord out to put in a different mouse. So I also just put this random ass cable. In fact, is it actually? Yeah. Oh no, this is the cable from the FK2. The S2 I got because it was super popular at the time. I got this mouse like basically right when it came out. It was super popular. I picked it up. I aimed pretty well with it. And I think that for some reason, I think that it was just a little bit too short for me to be comfortable with it. That's part of why I like this MP01 so much, is because it's just that teeny bit longer that it feels more comfortable. And the drop off on the right side was just always a little uncomfortable for me. This is a mouse that I've always been able to aim really well with. Sticking with the theme of S2s is my pink S2. This one I got because I started using my matted one again and realized, hey, I like this shape, but I wish I didn't mat it. So I got a pink one. And then I can say all the things I said for the S2. It's a good shape, but it just didn't work just right for me. And a lot of the things I liked about it pointed me towards the NP01. Okay. Oh, I guess now the logical next step is the S1. This is, for me, the S1 compared to the S2 is one of the biggest, like, differences between a smaller and larger Zowie mouse. Because the S1 is very comfortable. It fits in my hand perfectly. I can aim just as well with it as I can with the S2, but it feels like almost a different mouse, and that's kind of surreal to me because I just haven't had that experience with a Zowie mouse. Zowie mouse series of having the smaller and the bigger one feel so different, and I also haven't had the experience of the smaller and the bigger one aiming equally well for me. But I got this mouse for the same reason that I got the EC1, which was I was using the S2, and then I was like, hey, I have big hands. Would I like the bigger one? And I got the S1, and unlike the EC1, I actually did like the S1 a lot. And this is a mouse that I actually used for like a couple weeks very recently, and I was able to aim super well with it. But then I decided to try out the NP01, and I just kind of liked it more. But this is actually a mouse that I really highly recommend. It's the only large Zowie mouse that I do recommend because it is still a small mouse. And I feel like it's still going to work for a lot of people, and it is just a really comfortable claw shape. So the S1 I do definitely recommend. Okay, what is next? Do I have any more Zowie shapes to talk about? Oh yeah, I do. Here I have my FKs. These are all my FKs. You're going to notice a trend here with Zowie mice, which is here's an FK1+. Guess why I got it? Because I really liked the FK2, and I realized I had big hands, so I wanted to see if I liked the FK1. So I'm just going to get this one out of the way already. If you hear something fall, don't be alarmed. I'm dangerously stacking mice over here to my right. So this is my FK2. I used this mouse for quite some time, and I really liked it. I was originally pointed in this direction because Rocket Jump Ninja used this mouse for so long, and he said he really liked it, so I tried it out, and I really liked the shape as well. It's a really great mouse. However, it had a dog shit sensor. So, when the FK2B Divina came out, I basically instantly purchased it. And this mouse I used as my main for... might be the... I don't know between this and the G Pro Wireless which one of those two mice was my main for the longest, but this mouse was my main for a really, really long time, and I aim super well with it. And I always come back to it. The MP01 might keep me away from the FK2 in all honesty, because the MP01 is similar in the ways that I want. But this FK2 for the longest time I just kept coming back to because I aim so incredibly well with it. And like some of the best shots I've ever hit have been with this mouse. And it's still a mouse that once the FK2C comes out, I'll recommend it again. But for now, it's just, the features just aren't there, and it is such a cloned shape that there's probably a better FK2 clone out there. However, I still want to support Zowie, and I still say buy the FK2 if you're interested, because it's not that far behind on the features, unlike like the EC series. But there are better clones. Alright, so that's the last of the Zowie mice. I guess I'll just... Okay, now I'll talk about the Viper family. So, you guys have seen these mice a lot on my channel, because I always compare this shit to the Viper Ultimate. I bought these in the order that they came out, basically. So when the Viper came out, it was a really, really interesting offering from Razer, and I basically instantly wanted to try it. So this is like one of the first Vipers that ever came out. I got it from the first batch. And this was a mouse that I was able to aim super, super well with, and I think that is just because it is a slightly lighter FK-inspired shape, and turns out a lighter FK-inspired shape is something I can aim well with, because I can aim well with the FK. But eventually I moved off this mouse, in all honesty, just to go back to the FK2, because Razer Synapse was so fucking annoying, and I really didn't want to use it. So I just went back to the FK2, because the slight weight difference... First off, the shape I don't think is actually better than the FK2. I think it is an FK2 inspired shape, and I think it is a side grade to the FK2. I think people might like this more than the FK2. But for me, the FK2 is a slightly better shape. And these mice were about equal, but then I had to use Razer Synapse all the time, and I hated that, so I stopped using it. This mouse right here, the Razer Viper Ultimate, is kind of the mouse that got me back into collecting, because for the longest time, I was just using the FK2. And then I saw the Viper Ultimate, and I got it. And this was my main for a good few months before I... oh, fuck, what was the mouse that actually got me off this one? Oh, then I started trying the Z813, and then I went to the NP01. But this mouse sort of got me back into collecting, because 10 grams was not enough to get me to switch off the FK2, but 10 grams plus wireless was enough to get me off the FK2. So this was a mouse that I used for some time, but it just got outclassed. But then I wanted to try out the Z813, and then it just got outclassed by the NP01. And I can actually just put this mouse on the charging dock over here. And then the Viper Mini. This one I just recently bought. This one I bought because it's a super, super small mouse, and that's really, really interesting to me. I have not actually like played any games with it yet, but I am looking forward to, and I'm planning to. I might end up modding it. But this mouse just seemed like a really interesting offering because it is like a super small FK inspired shape. And I like those types of shapes, so I wanted to try it out. Okay. Oh, okay. I think next I'm going to talk about the DeathAdder. This one I just got because it was a crazy good sale, and because a lot of people have always really liked the DeathAdder, and I want to try it out. I don't like it. I think it's a bad shape. I think it's really uncomfortable. I think you should just always be buying an EC series or an Outset AX or some other better mouse. But I can't deny that the features are there, and if you like the shape, it's a great mouse. But I've never really put time into it. I played a few games with it just to see if it's actually that good, and I really didn't like it, and it was uncomfortable for me. So I don't recommend it, but I can't deny that other people like it, and I think the features are all there. So if it's a shape that you like, then I think it's a good option. Next, I'll talk about this one. This is my G203. This mouse I got because I wanted to try out the egg shape again, but I wanted to try a lighter version of it, because this mouse I believe is around 80 grams versus the like 85 plus that the G305 is. So I got this mouse. Only issue is the sensor spins out, and that was not something people were telling me, so I can't really use this mouse, but it did get me back into the egg shape for a little bit, and I used the G305 for a few days, just because I use this mouse, but the sensor spinned out, but I still want to try the this shape. again, so I used the G305 for a bit, and then realized I don't like the shape that much, again. Okay, next I'm going to talk about this mouse, Logitech MX58. This is one of the first few mice I got as well. This mouse I got right when it was refreshed because there's a whole bunch of hype around it and the shape. It's a heavy mouse. It's not a fantastic shape. However, same thing I'm going to say I said for the DeathAdder. All the features are here. It's got a great sensor. It's got great buttons. You don't need to use Razer Synapse. I think all the features are there. If it's like a shape that's nostalgic for you and you want to try it out, I think it's a fine offering. But if anybody asks me what mouse to buy, I'm never going to fucking say this mouse. But if you come up to me and you say, hey, I really like the G400 or the G5, what all the models that look like this, then I think it is a good refresh of that shape. Okay. Next I'm going to talk about my glorious mice. I made a whole video about these mice, and it's one of the most popular and disliked videos on my channel, and I still stand by everything I said in that video, because these mice have fucking terrible build quality. Here, watch this. Just listen to the creaks. That's just me doing this. Everything clicks when you squeeze it, and it creaks. Like, these have terrible build quality. I got the Model O right when it was released because it had so much hype around it, and I just needed to try it. I forget what mouse I was using when this one came out, but I used the Model O for a little bit, and it was just a deal breaker that pressing in on the side would click the side buttons, so I went back to whatever mouse I was using before this one came. I think it was just the G Pro Wireless. I was using the G Pro Wireless, this mouse came out. I tried it out, the side buttons were a deal breaker for me, and I switched back, and then when the Model O Minus came out, the issues were meant to be fixed. I tried it out because a really small mouse seemed super interesting, and I tried it out, and sure enough, the issues weren't fixed, and I couldn't use it because the side buttons would click if I grabbed it too tight. Okay, next I'm going to talk about this mouse just because it's kind of a miscellaneous mouse. This is SteelSeries Rebel 310. It's also one of the first mice I got because it was really, really well reviewed by big tech YouTubers. I will say this mouse is super comfortable, and I think the features are really great, and I could aim pretty well with it. But I don't know. There's no reason to get it anymore, and frankly, I don't think it was a good option when it came out, and it still isn't. But it's a decent shape, and it's got good features and really nice clicks. But I just got this mouse because it was meant to be really good, and I was just getting into collecting mice, and it seemed like a fun mouse to get. Alright. In the final stretch, these two. This is my G Pro Wireless. This mouse I got right when it came out because it was an incredible mouse, and all of my favorite Overwatch League players were using it. I used this mouse for quite some time. I really liked that it was an FK-inspired shape. I'm going to say that a lot just because I like FK-inspired shapes. But I used this mouse for a really, really long time, and I think I only ever stopped using it because the FK2B came around, and that was a mouse with an equally good sensor that was only a few grams heavier, and once I paracorded it, felt very similar. So this mouse I used for a really long time, and I still think it's a great mouse. The G Pro Superlight I just recently got, and it's just a slightly better version of the G Pro Wireless. I have a whole review on this mouse that you can go check out on my channel. But this is a shape that I've always really loved. I think that it's a super comfortable shape. I think it's a shape everybody can aim well with. The issue is nobody can aim at their peak with it. However, it might still be the best option for you because the features are so incredible. But I'm not going to spiel too much on this mouse because there is an entire video on it on my channel. And finally, the last mouse. Oh, they're falling already. The last mouse. And the least interesting one. The Logitech MX58. Sorry, not MX. Fuck. MX Master 3. This mouse I got actually when I wasn't really gaming that much. I got it over the summer last year. Just because I was doing a lot of schoolwork and like getting prepped for the school year. Well, I wasn't doing schoolwork. I was doing a lot of paperwork and shit, and I was getting prepped for the school year. And I was like, I want to get a really, really good productivity mouse. And I picked up this one, and I've been using it ever since. I think investing in a good productivity mouse, if you are a gaming mouse person, is a fucking great option, because not only does this just make everything easier in my life, but it allows me to use mice that are bad for browsing but are really, really good for gaming. If the MP01 was the only mouse I owned, that kind of fucking sucked, because it has a scroll wheel that is dog shit for browsing. However, I have this mouse, and it is amazing for everything that isn't gaming. And then I have a mouse that's amazing for gaming. I'm not gonna go too deep into this because it's a pretty simple option. But if you guys are actually interested in a review of the MX Master 3, I'll totally make that, because I honestly love this mouse. But I don't want to go too deep into it in this video because you guys clicked on it for gaming mouse collection, and I'm just talking about a mouse that I like for productivity. Alright, that is it. That is every mouse I own as of June 26th. There are a few mice that I don't own anymore, but I tried. I tried the SteelSeries Rival 600. I tried the Fanatic Dash, I think. No, not Dash. Clutch. The Fanatic Clutch. No, the Flick. I tried the Fanatic Flick. Oh, and I tried the Razer Mamba Elite at one point. So those are a few mice that aren't in my collection, but I did try. So I don't really want to say much about those mice because I don't have them and I can't really tell you anything about them. But yeah, those are also mice I've tried. If you guys are interested in reviews of any of these mice, please ask in the comments down below. Sorry if this is a super long video, but I'm talking about a mountain of mice. There's literally a mountain over here to the right of my desk, and it does take a while to talk about all those mice. Nonetheless, I hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys so much for 50 subscribers. If I continue to grow like this, I'll have to figure out something to do for 100 subscribers. Current thought is kind of show off some of the other peripherals I use, like my audio setup. Yeah, honestly, I was not expecting this, so I'll have to plan for 100 subs if that starts to happen. But thank you guys so much for all the support, and I'll see you guys in the next video.